Jesus' cross, or Cato's sword, welcome. Today we are dissecting the moral bedrock of the West. We are often told that our modern values, human rights, progress, and justice, are the direct descendants of Judeo-Christian ethics. But if we look closer at the source material, we find a framework that is not only insufficient for a progressive civilization, but in many ways an anchor dragging against it. If we want to continue the miraculous progress that began with the Enlightenment, we don't need radical humility or the turning of the other cheek. We need the four pillars of Stoicism: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. This is the difference between a morality of submission and a morality of agency. Let's start at the beginning. The Ten Commandments. We are told these are the pinnacle of ethics, yet strip away the first three, and what do you have? Do not murder, do not steal, do not lie. These aren't divine revelations. They are the golden rule found in every functional society from Confucius to the Code of Hammurabi. They are the bare minimum for a tribe to not collapse into chaos. But look at the priority list. The first three commands don't demand morality. They demand total obedience to a jealous God. In this hierarchy, failing to worship correctly is a greater sin than murder. Even the command to honor thy father and mother sits higher than thou shalt not kill. And how does this cherished morality end? With a list of property. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, his ox, his donkey, or his wife. In the eyes of this law, a woman is categorized alongside livestock and real estate. Is this truly the foundation we want for a modern, egalitarian world? Then comes Jesus. He claimed he didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. But in doing so, he introduced a psychological burden that is philosophically devastating. He moved the goalposts from the physical world into the internal theater of the mind, by stating that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery in his heart. Jesus established the morality of the thought crime. Philosophically, this is an assault on the nature of human consciousness. It ignores the Stoic distinction between propatheiai, the initial involuntary impressions or flashes of emotion, and assent, the rational decision to act. Jesus conflates the impulse with the action, creating an impossible standard that pathologizes the human mind itself. This creates a state of perpetual moral debt. If the mere thought of anger is murder, then every human is a murderer, and every human is broken. This doesn't make us better. It makes us dependent on a savior for a cure to a condition that is simply part of being a sentient biological entity. It replaces the Stoic goal of temperance, the rational mastery of impulses, with a crushing sense of inherent sin. We should also mention Paul of Tarsus, as many call him the real inventor of Christianity. He took Jesus's localized, Jewish-centric apocalypticism and translated it into a Greek philosophical framework. In Romans 7, he describes the wretched man who wants to do good but finds a law of sin in his members. Paul used the impossibility of keeping the internalized law as a proof point. Since you cannot possibly be perfect in thought, you are perpetually in need of grace. Paul shifted the focus from the teachings of Jesus, how to live, to the nature of Jesus, who he was. He focused on the cosmic Christ, the atonement, and the church as a body. By decoupling the faith from Jewish circumcision and dietary laws, the physical markers, Paul made it accessible to everyone. But in its place, he installed the internal law. This made Christianity a portable religion of the mind, which is why it outlasted other localized cults. The burden of inherent human fallibility makes the believer totally dependent on the faith. The miraculous progress versus holy resignation. Let's look at the scoreboard of the last 300 years. We are told that meekness is a virtue, but meekness never cured a disease. Meekness never broke a chain. The progress we enjoy today, the fact that you likely won't bury half of your children before they reach the age of 5, did not come from trusting in God's plan. It came from the stoic virtue of wisdom applied as the scientific method. Consider smallpox. For centuries, the pious response to plagues was to treat them as divine judgment, scourges to be met with prayer and a turning of the other cheek to fate. But the Enlightenment mind, rooted in the Stoic command to use reason, refused to submit. Men like Edward Jenner exercised courage to challenge the biological status quo. They saw a global threat and applied justice, the belief that every human life in the cosmopolis was worth saving. The result? 300 million lives saved. That isn't blessed poverty of spirit. That is the triumph of human agency. In 1800, global life expectancy was 31 years. Today, it is 73. We have doubled our time on this earth. The Christian view sees life as a vale of tears, a temporary testing ground where suffering is a refinement for the soul. The Stoic Enlightenment view sees life as the only arena where virtue can be practiced. To prolong it through sanitation, penicillin, and nutrition is a moral imperative. We rejected the idea that the poor you will always have with you. Through wisdom and temperance, we have slashed extreme poverty from 90% of the world to less than 10%. We did it not by petitioning the divine for bread, but by achieving dominion over the harvest. Rather than accepting the dogmas of virgin births and miraculous resurrections, we applied the scientific method to the once mysterious thresholds of birth and death, moving them out of the realm of myth into the light of human understanding, transforming miracle into medicine. The ultimate test of any morality is this: what would you prefer for your child? Imagine your child standing in a playground or later in a boardroom. If they encounter a predator or a bully, do you truly want them to turn the other cheek? Do you want them to believe that their worth is found in their meekness and their ability to be a doormat for the cruel? Or do you want them to have the fortitude to stand up, not out of hatred, but out of a stoic duty to justice? We want children who are resilient, not repressed. We want a child who understands that they are the master of their own character, not a sinner who must beg for the strength to have a normal human thought. We want them to look at the world's problems, the rise of autocracies, the immigration crisis, unequal opportunities and disease, and not default to, I trust in God, but rather to, I have the wisdom to understand this and the courage to fix it. Do you want to raise a sheep who waits for a shepherd, or a human being who can navigate the storm with their own internal compass? The Christian model offers the comfort of a parent who never lets you grow up. Stoicism offers the tools to become the parent of your own soul. Conclusion: the need for stoic virtuosos. Christianity asks us to be quiet and trust. It suggests that loving your enemies means giving them the upper hand to continue their evil. But the Stoic knows that true love for humanity sometimes requires the courage to stop the tyrant. Jesus' new commandment, to love others as he loved us, a sacrificial, world-denying love, leads to a culture of martyrdom. But a civilization cannot be built on martyrs. It is built on citizens. We are the beneficiaries of the Enlightenment, a period when men finally decided that reason was a better guide than revelation. We need the Stoic virtues to continue this project. We need people who value truth over comfort, justice over submission, and character over divine favor. The world doesn't need more people praying for change. It needs people with the fortitude to create it. Choose the path of the virtuoso. Choose the path of the mind. Virtus est ratio perfecta.